told me that there was something you wanted to talk to somebody about.
Yeah.
Did you get abducted?
So
Did you get abducted by aliens?
I did not personally get
Oh
abducted by
boy,
aliens.
you've had a
However,
first-hand encounter.
uh, I'm I would like to talk about a bit of an abduction story that had me absolutely captivated during 2020 and 2021.
Right. So is this a rabbit hole you found yourself going down?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Do you remember me kind of telling you about this in the
I
past?
feel like you just generally are,
Obsessed?
yeah, in alien stuff in general, which I can relate.
That is
I can
correct.
relate to because as a kid, I was very into it, and big into the X-Files, and uh, all those stories, all those like documentary type shows on like Fox 5. Well, now it's like just stories of people getting abducted and whatnot. So I've been into it. So I'm ready. I'm ready. Lay it on me.
As whatever type of preface for my obsession with space or aliens or whatever, like of course every kid is like interested in the idea, but I just remember being like particularly hyped when I was young about like no, I will be an astronaut, not just like I'm going to space, but like I was all about like understanding that like astronauts on the moon weren't really just bouncing around. They were doing like research and stuff. I was really interested in learning about like space rocks and the different materials that planets were made of. And not on purpose, I don't think, but a good amount of adults in my life were like, "Hey, idiot, you're colorblind. That'll never happen for you."
That's fucked up.
so
That's so
yeah,
fucked.
yeah,
That's
it's not
fucked up, man.
it was never like, "Hey, listen, kid, we got to tell you your dreams are unattainable." But enough adults in my life were like, "Well, you can't, right?" For me to be
So
like,
fucked.
"Oh."
That's so fucked.
Yeah.
As I was a space kid too. I was really I was
Yeah.
big into planets. And being a space kid leads you into being an alien kid. I think
Oh yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
pipeline.
Well, I think it just starts with like, "What? There's 9 planets?" And then it's like, "What? There's more planets in different galaxies? What? There's different galaxies?" Well, it just and then that expands and then of course you just go like, "Oh yeah." Like you come to a conclusion earlier on that it's more likely than not that we're not alone,
Yeah,
or that it is uh, easier to believe that we're not alone
yeah,
than it is to believe that we are.
yeah.
Um, and that kind of carried me into now still, but also, oh, go ahead.
No, I will. I was going to say I will say that my current beliefs are that we're probably not being visited, but those are just my
Not being visited.
current beliefs. Yeah, not being visited. Those are my.
Okay, do you want to
Those are just,
expand on that?
I mean, I don't know if I want to do it now before your story. I don't want to take the wind out of you.
No, it's perfect. This is because I also want to give you freedom. It's a bit of a longer story, so like
Okay,
there is every opportunity to just hop in at any
right.
point and be like, "Wait,
Yeah,
can we because this is something I think I was willing to convince myself of every word of this story, and I think now in hindsight that's a
I
problem.
see. I see. No, but
So
it's fun to get swept up in what if this is true. Like that is something I'm also
absolutely.
realizing. So I'm like I spent my entire childhood being a Mulder, and I'm now a Scully. So
Okay.
um
X-Files reference for those who don't watch.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot of people in my life who enjoy this kind of content, and I've become kind of an asshole. I realized because I just sit there and watch this stuff with them, and I'm like, you know, oh, shit's fake.
Oh,
This is all fake, and I kind of rip it apart.
sorry, you froze, but you're good. You're back. You're
Oh,
good.
sorry. No, I just pick it apart. Like I just pick things apart, and it like takes the enjoyment out of it for them, and I'm trying to be more mindful
Yep.
of that. I
Wow.
also, well, there's a lot there. So I'm about to go on a tangent. So stop me.
Please. Well, I'm just saying I relate in that way. I just had this conversation with someone that like, I'm sorry, I'm so open to the idea of aliens being here, but I don't believe your personal story.
Okay, right. So,
Yeah.
like, my thing is when I'm watching something on TV and it's very obviously either someone well, faking it. It's obvious to me that it's a fake video, right?
Sure.
But the person I'm hanging out with is like, whoa, that's so cool. Did you see that? I cannot help but be like, this person. I care about this person, and I want them to know that they've been lied to. That's where I'm.
That
That's where I'm
is
coming at it from. But
that is exactly why I needed you to be the person who received this story.
okay, well, I'm glad. But in hindsight, it fucks with the moment because they're just trying to have a good time, and I'm fucking with their good time, which also I don't like. I don't like fucking with someone's good time either. So you know, I'm just
Well, it
trying to
expands just beyond like extraterrestrial stuff, right? That also leads into like if your good friend dies on a hill of a particular religion, it's like,
well, this is
oh,
why I
ah.
get so upset about it is because media can be very convincing of a lot of things, and
Oh yeah,
I think it's healthy to be skeptical of things. Like it's bullshit until proven otherwise, or what have you. You know, like that's kind of how I look at content, but not everybody looks at content that way.
sure.
So, I get upset because I'm
I
like,
think.
misinformation's out there, and if you're,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
stuff like that, stuff like that. That's why I get so heated about it.
Well, I think it also comes down to like with the alien situation. It feels like there's been some sort of, even if you're not like swept up in the culture of alien obsession, like it feels like there has been more of a mainstream acceptance of the possibility of their potential existence. So now it sort of feels like the onus is on those who believe there's no possible way they exist. Like instead of the innocent till proven guilty or whatever,
Bullshit until proven otherwise.
exactly, like it sort of feels like that has shifted a little bit where it's like
I-
our understanding of the ever expanding universe makes it harder to believe that we are alone.
So I was talking to a friend right around that time that there were those paper mache aliens in Mexico, like the ones that like were in the court hearing or whatever.
Well, hold on.
Um,
That's relevant
okay, so
because
so
you
you're
just said paper mache, and I don't know that I believe that.
that it's paper mache or that it's
I don't know that they are extraterrestrial beings, but there has been enough independent analysis to believe or to verify that they are
I see.
real.
I guess I haven't looked too much into it, but I took one look at them and I'm like, those, I don't know. That's
Okay.
just not. Um, Maybe that's my bias. I don't know, but I
Do you
guess
know Michio Kaku?
I don't.
Well-known science educator, hangs out with the Neil deGrasse type and Bill Nye type. He has independently seen these bodies and has come to his own independent conclusion that they are real. Whether or not they are
I see.
extraterrestrial is
I
still
see.
up in the air. I just didn't know if you knew him, if that
I
name meant anything to you.
don't know, but
Okay.
I definitely don't think they're extraterrestrial. If they are actual creatures, they're just like they're mummified something.
Sure,
But
sure, which is
I
possible.
guess the thing I'm trying to get at here is when that was all going on, I was talking to him and I'm like, it's crazy how there's like all these congressional hearings now about like the existence of aliens. People are coming up and we were talking about why, and he came up with a great point, and it's because of the existence of the Space Force now. Because now
Oh
they need
yeah.
funding, and it's like this is them
Uh,
getting the public on their side. So when they
I
ask for
see.
more money, they're like, hey, look, everybody thinks that we need to have a presence up there because of the pill or the pill footage or
Sure.
the paper mache.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, so you
it was
you
pretty interesting.
see it kind of as a or this person sees it as kind of cynically as like a government operation or a military operation
Yeah, yeah,
to be like,
yeah,
okay, which is certainly possible.
yeah.
I think where I'm at is an openness to all ideas
Right.
in that, you know, do I think that our quote unquote government knows more than they're leading on? Yes, of course. But also, I think the opposite could be just as true in that they have no idea what's going on and that's a problem for them.
Right. Well,
Um,
I also am of the opinion of like I think that we're people who, I mean, as a species, we just are always trying to be technologically at the we're just trying to advance technology as much as we possibly can. So
right.
in doing that, especially if it's military related, you want people to think that it's aliens, or that it's, you don't want people to think, oh yeah, we're just testing out this fancy new spacecraft or aircraft that we have going on. You want people to be like, what the fuck is that? We don't know. And like, so I think it's, plausible deniability on their part. If
Sure.
aliens are real and they're visiting us,
Sure.
there, it's like a cloaked deniability.
Well, what do you say we get into the story at least?
Okay. So before we do it, is it a story so is this, it's a rabbit hole. It's not someone that told you a story.
That is correct. I am reading you a post made by a Redditor.
Okay. I'm glad, because
if
I start shit talking it, I don't want it to.
That's okay.
Be a personal friend of yours that I'm like, that's
nope. Let me just get the absolute date on this, because there are some soft predictions that were made in this Reddit post from many years ago that did come to be at least adjacent to true.
Okay.
And I think that's what helped. This ended up being a very big thing on Reddit during its time. But of course, anything that happens in Reddit in its own little community can be a big thing. And it could be completely unseen or unheard of by millions of other people.
Can I ask what the subreddit is?
It was initially posted in UFOs.
Okay. Should have known.
Or actually, could be r/aliens as well. Looks like a lot of the conversation happened there. It was reposted or cross-posted to UFOs or aliens, but a lot of the discussion happened around that.
Okay.
I am really trying my hardest to find a date here. But my understanding is this was somewhere around 2015.
Okay.
Maybe even sooner, maybe 2014.
Did you get into it around then, or did you just find it recently?
Nope, I found out about it in 2020.
I see.
Okay, but the post was made many years before.
This may seem irrelevant. Was this pre or post shutdown, COVID shutdown?
That I found it? It had to be happening all around the same time.
I see.
Like, I know it happened in 2020. I could have been into it at the beginning there.
Okay.
At January. But, like, I probably shut down because shutdown happened in March, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was, I mean, regardless, it carried on through the entirety of 2021 as well.
Gotcha.
And as a preface, my partner at the time was not necessarily on board, but certainly not dismissive.
I see.
And a qualifier that I didn't know if I would put out beforehand, but I think is probably relevant just for the fun of it. Also during 2020 and 2021, I was doing a lot of psychedelics.
Gotcha.
So that could be relevant to my susceptibility or whatever. Let's get into
what
it.
prompted your you're getting back into it, or you're reassessing this story? What prompted this?
I don't know. I think I've just never let go of it.
I see.
And I've also recently thought of the cringe things I used to believe.
I see.
So
Gotcha.
It could be a little bit of both.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So again, this was posted maybe 2000. Also, I'm looking at it and reading it from my phone here, so my eyes divert. That's why. And again, hop in at any time. This was posted by a Redditor named Throawaylien.
Okay. Good name.
Okay.
Good name. Solid.
As in throwaway
account.
alien.
Well, right. Well, the account is a throwaway account.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, the first line is throwaway account.
Gotcha.
Because I'm afraid.
I see.
Okay. This is how it starts.
Gotcha.
And again, chime in at any point. Throwaway account because I'm afraid, from user Throawaylien. I was first, quote, abducted in 1987. I was 12 years old. I say abducted, but it's not really like that. Actually, you go willingly. It's scary, but it's exciting too. And they're somehow able to make you feel okay about things. It's not until later that you feel bad or like you've been violated. It's not until later that you feel bad or like you've been violated. And they don't do probing like raping or anything like that. That's Hollywood nonsense. They look inside of people sometimes, but they have machines that do it. Not really machines, but it's like a room where things get done and the walls are. It's hard to explain, so just imagine that all the walls are kind of like an X-ray machine. That's the easiest way to describe it. Sometimes there would be others there, and they would be looking into them, or they'd put them under and cut them open, but not usually. Also, just to be clear, it's very clear that this is a stream of consciousness, that this is someone
Right.
like just typing. This could be schizophrenic thoughts. I
Right.
am aware of that.
I
Now,
already have several thoughts, but I'll let you continue.
okay, I mean, again, chime in at any point. But they took tissue samples from all of us, and they never put you under or give you any anesthetic or anything. They just
All of us.
poke.
So like, there's like, not only was he abducted, but there was multiples of
Yep,
them. Okay, gotcha.
there is an assumption that there are more. They just poke you with things like they take, or with those things that they take samples out of the ocean floor, like that, but really small. They pull out chunks of you. It's usually done on the butt or the lower back. Mostly, they just talked with me. Just questions, and they'd show me things like television shows and things, and they'd ask me questions about them. I think the walls measure our reaction to things too. Same as they take x-rays. I don't know that, but it's the feeling that I got. They never ask you questions about what they're doing. Every once in a while, I got friendly with a few of them. They just don't like it when you ask them too many questions. You can't understand their language. It just sounds like, quote, I'm positive that we'll never able to communicate with them in their own language. I should mention that these are the, quote, grays that you hear about, except that they aren't gray. They're sort of beige, and it's clothes anyway. They aren't naked. I don't know if there are others. People say that there are, but I've only ever met this type. Anyway, you can't understand them, but they can understand you. And they can put thoughts into your head, but they can't hear your thoughts. You have to speak to them. They cannot hear very well, or else they are not very good at understanding English, so you have to speak loudly and slowly. I don't know if they understand other languages, but I'm pretty sure that they would. They seemed to be interested in all of us and in everything that goes on. They like a lot of things about our culture, too. Okay. Here's where things get wild.
Are they gonna?
If it hasn't already been
Are
wild.
they gonna come out as like Kim Kardashian fans or some shit?
Well, they even like some of our music.
All right.
Bluegrass is their favorite so far as I've seen. They like it a lot. They also love that African instrument thing that looks like a gourd with 13 strings. They love it, but they cannot stand horns or horn music. So my assumption is they hate classical music and jazz. I think trumpets sort of sound like their language, just based on the vibrations.
I'd be interested to
It's a
see what this person's musical taste is. This is what I'm
I
thinking.
know.
If
I
it
know.
lines up, it's they're like, it just so happens
It,
that they have the same musical taste as me. It's interesting.
I know. It's a feeling that I get, but I've never been able to ask them. They've taken me up just about every 2 years, I'd say, since 1987. Sometimes it's more often, and I didn't go up at all between 1995 and 2000. They usually keep me for what feels like a day, but it turns out to be about 4 hours in total. The longest I've stayed with them was 3 weeks. During that time, they made me make phone calls and, quote, keep up appearances. They aren't really bad, but it says they aren't really bad, ... Well, I was going to say people, but they're not really bad people or whatever. Now here's where things get specific. The two that I got sort of close with told me to call them Jack and Gina. I don't know if they're male or female or even if they have different sexes, but I know that those aren't their real names. Those are just names that they told me.
I don't believe it. I
Okay.
don't believe it. I think their real names are Jack and Gina. I think aliens have the
Oh.
same names as us.
Okay. So there are some. I'm going to verify some things after this story, but there are some things that will be verifiable in just a moment.
Gotcha.
So the next paragraph, they will make contact with Earth on a wide scale in 2021. So this time has come and passed, just to be clear. That is the year when they'll land here or colonize or whatever. Now, I would like to just quickly interrupt the story to verify or just to tie this into real world implications. Do you remember the quote unquote storming of Area 51? That was all sparked by this story.
Yes.
So Reddit was fuming, or Reddit was boiling about this story for about a year and a half post, because it really, my understanding is it boomed at the beginning of 2020, the post. Because again, there are some verifiable things that people went to track backwards in future parts of this story. Okay. So yeah, if you were curious, not totally, but in large part, the attempted storming of Area 51 was sparked by this story here. Okay. All right. So shall I continue?
You go for it.
Okay. They will make contact with Earth on a wide scale in 2021. That's the year when they'll land here or colonize or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what their plan is. They don't seem to be evil or dangerous. Their planet is, or so they told me, a very long way away. They couldn't explain to me how far, they said, because it was too far for me to understand, and it was also, quote, close to the side. I have no idea what that meant, but it's always stuck with me. I think maybe it's relevant for later discussion. My takeaway from that, if I were to believe every bit of that, which I don't now, but my understanding of what that would mean is maybe like a dimensional thing. Like we exist in separate dimensions in the same place in time. You know what I mean? Like that's I think if we, whatever, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but do you believe in the possibility that aliens could exist in a non-physical dimension?
I think that there could be beings in other dimensions that we can't see because of that fact.
Okay, that's also, essentially what I believe he's communicating.
But I don't think dimensions work like how it is in the movies where you
travel to another dimension.
Dimension. It's like just like ours. I think it's more like the second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension thing where a second dimensional being could interact with us, but only to the point where it can just see our imprint. Stuff like
exactly. Yeah. So whatever. I ran away with that meant these are interdimensional beings. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. And again, I was on a lot of psychedelics during 2020 and 2021. So whatever. So it says, I have no idea what that meant, but it always stuck with me. Home is, quote, too far away for you to understand, but also close to the side, unquote. We don't have anything that they want, so they told me. So I don't really know why they come here or why they've taken so many of us up or why they've gotten to be friends with me. They do not have any religion and they don't need oxygen or water or trees or anything, I don't think. They don't eat people. Or sorry, that's reversed. They don't eat people. They don't even eat. I don't think they want to breed with us or genetically engineer us. I don't know what they want. But they've been coming here for, I'd guess, at least 10 or 20,000 years. I'm not very good about history and, quote, upper Paleolithic, unquote, and all that. But they've got videos of all sorts of stuff, and they showed me video of Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon, which were really just like us humans, except they had all black skins and way less diversity. All sorts of other human-like things, us's or whatever. And they showed me video of the pyramids being built and this huge stone building that I guess is lost somewhere or was destroyed, but it was in Europe. I could tell from the video. I'm sorry, these punctuations are strange. They have video of them talking with all sorts of people throughout all of human history. They showed me some of them and asked me questions about them, but I couldn't understand any of it because I only speak English, and even English from 200 or 300 years ago is so different that I could hardly understand it. So I told them that they probably knew more about it than I did. Just 2 more paragraphs here. I was up 3 weeks ago. That was the most recent time. I'm pretty sure that I'll go again in a couple of years, but I'm not sure after that. The whole, quote, program, or whatever they call it, is going to change in July of 2021. I think they said 8th, but it could also have been the 18th. I wasn't hearing them very well. They weren't trying to go intimidate me or even warn me, so I don't think we have anything to worry about. I hope they don't show the videos they took of me when they first started taking me up, because I was so scared and young, and they are embarrassing. Now we have 2 updates that have edits. One of the edits came a month later, and it said, I changed what could have been an accidentally racist bit in there that someone pointed out. I changed, quote, they were all black to, quote, they all had black skin. Okay? So there was an update. And then the next edit was in 2020. And it says, no more questions. They are not happy with me. I'm so sorry. And that's all we've heard from Throawaylien. My understanding is there was a whole surface or thing under the surface where he was commenting and responding about more specifics. But this was the post.
Here's my question. Now, what are Jack and Gina's Reddit accounts?
Okay. Well, what's really funny is there was a big joke side of this where everybody was talking about clapping Gina's cheeks.
Okay. It is Reddit. It is Reddit.
It's Reddit. It's Reddit. So whether or not you believe this specific story, because of course it's just a random Redditor, and before I go into any verification of any details, if you're just reading that on Reddit, what are your takes?
My thoughts in general are, I was, the whole time I was thinking about, I saw a video really recently about how abduction stories became like a cultural thing. And I forget the actual specifics, but they were talking about the Betty and Bill Hill incident, right?
I don't know if it's Hill. I don't know if it's Bill.
Barney and Betty Hill.
Yeah, Barney and Betty. That's what it is. Yeah, it's not Barney.
And how like it got way overblown and like edited over the years, and then it became more of a cultural thing. And then,
well, what do you believe about the Barney and Betty Hill story?
I don't know if I believe anything about it. I don't know. I know that when I was a kid, I was like, oh man, that's crazy. But
for context, to my understanding, it's the first real popular cultural alien abduction story that
all the tropes
took off in the media.
All the tropes came from like that story, like the lost time and the weird electronical interferences and what.
Yep.
But I think that a lot of the explanations behind abduction, first of all, like when you start hearing a story like this, if it becomes a big cultural phenomenon and it gets into like a person's subconscious in general, people are more likely to experience dreams like this. Sleep paralysis is a huge thing. This is why people back in the day thought that demons would visit them in their sleep.
Absolutely. The demons thing is almost certainly sleep paralysis constantly.
But I mean, a different culture and a different time, it may not be a demon. It could be little green men or whatever. Like the context of the person who's existing in that culture, it'll change. Like the character will change. I think in general, it's fascinating how stories take root in our culture and our cultural consciousness, and then like become different things. I stumbled upon a video as to why we think that we could see through ghosts, and that wasn't
through ghosts.
Yeah, like you know how like our idea of a ghost is like something that's like you can kind of see through.
Yep.
That has not always been the case with ghost stories, and it became it became more common during I think the Victorian era when they had um, those seances and projectors became a thing, and they started being like, "Oh, it's a ghost is appearing," and they would project an image of a person up on a wall or something, and you could
Wild,
see through the projection, and
right?
because of that, people started saying, "Well, it's a ghost. Obviously, you can see through ghosts."
Because of magic,
Yeah, because of like
essentially.
just
Essentially, well, science.
that's just how ghosts work,
Well, can I I guess ask a question? So let's there's a handful of assumptions that we can make about this story in particular, let alone any other story. Either this is all 100% completely a fabrication, okay? Which is entirely possible. Uh, this person believes every single thing that they're saying, but it did not happen. It is a projection of their subconscious or some bout with insanity or whatever. Or it happened, or it's real. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's some gray area in between those options.
No
But
pun
let's
intended.
assume, what's that?
No pun intended.
Am I missing the part? Oh, the gray.
Gray area.
If I was funnier, that would have been great.
Would have been
uh,
great. Okay, all right.
no,
Sorry,
that
last one.
sucked.
Look who's talking. Anyway, go ahead.
That's enough. Out of you, Jack.
Excuse me, is Gina?
Oh, sorry. I'd like to clap those cheeks. So anyways, let's a little thought experiment. Assume that this person believes every word they said. What would you make of that story then?
I probably would say that's probably some kind of sleep paralysis thing going on.
All of it?
Reoccurring dreams, stuff like that. Yeah. I think especially, I think an alien species would have a much better way to gather information on us than to um, bring us on board a spaceship. Also, like, uh, depending on the story, like the actual mechanics behind getting onto the spaceship are different. Sometimes there's like a white light in the room, and they come in and they open the door, and it's all physical.
Yeah, I don't know if he
Some
ever even
some
or this person ever even
sometimes
described that.
sometimes it's like a teleportation thing, which is like the only feasible way, because otherwise, like everyone on the block would see this giant ship. You know what I mean? And if they have the technology to wipe memories, then why didn't they wipe this guy's memory properly?
Uh,
These are the questions I come up with.
unless, okay, I'm not going to bat for him here. Again, we'll talk about some of the stuff that I think ended up coincidentally checking out after the fact. But let's just entertain the story here. Um, if they exist interdimensionally, then
Mhm.
maybe the whole abduction process isn't something that can be witnessed visually. It's just
Yeah,
something that happens
if
to
it's a
you.
dimensional thing, I suppose so. Um,
Yeah, so how about that, huh?
if they're interdimensional, they could see us without us seeing them. If it's a,
If they wanted to.
if they wanted to, so why do they want us to see them?
Um, that's a great question. Maybe they don't want us to see them, and that's why it hasn't been a global situation where like everyone, maybe they have not made themselves known to the global public because it's not conducive. Like my understanding is any higher power would know full well that exposing themselves would make humans panic.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like
But
that
also,
could.
isn't it also bad to have an entire like underground culture of people being like, I remember and I have memories of abductions and whatnot? Isn't that also bad?
I think that's less relevant to, and when I say higher power, I don't necessarily mean a god, but a godlike figure. That could mean aliens traveling interdimensionally. Those would be gods to us.
Right.
Um, you know,
The only way I could see it being like, I don't like if like when you go in, like when biologists go into the wood like tag animals, they don't try to wipe their memory. They don't really care if they
well,
have
we
sleep or not.
can't.
and we can't also. But also, even if we could, what's the point?
That's what I'm
Um,
saying. That I mean that it's
to
that
play, yeah, I can see like, if they look at us just like wild fucking animals, which we are, valid assessment. They probably don't even give a shit. So
right.
I don't think if they do exist, I don't think it's like we have to be secret, otherwise they'll panic. I just think it's like, yeah, whatever, fucking tag it and then put it back. Like I don't think they
Well,
think about it.
that's I guess well that's almost certainly correct if that's the case because if they're here, they have to see us as animals, right?
Yeah,
Like
I would think so.
in a way that we see animals because if we can't just the mere fact that they can get to us and we didn't even know they existed
Right. Yeah.
exponentially.
Yeah.
However, there is there's also some other subculture of beliefs that there is a whatever some sort of intergalactic hierarchy and that there are many different species that exist within our limited universe and that there's some type of federation where a human delegate exists as part of that, even if that's crazy to believe, it's not the most impossible thing to like create in your head as a possible scenario. I don't know.
Well, I don't think it's throwaway alien though.
That almost certainly. So
That's the thing.
let's dabble with some of the verifiable things that we can talk about here. Because some of the dates I think were the most relevant.
Yeah.
Um, so first of all, in 2020, let me pull it up here, and let me tell you, the conspiracy theorists went wild on that one, thinking that here, let me. When was? I apologize. I'm gonna maybe edit this in real time, but when was the UAP task force created? And are you familiar with the UAP task force?
I think so, yes. Yeah, I'm pretty
My,
sure.
my understanding, I don't know if it's part of the specific, Space Force, or if this has anything to do with the Air Force or whatever branch of the military. But it was created in 2020. It is the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. And it was created, okay, let's see. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office of the United States Defense Department was established in 2022. Hang on. Okay, AARO was preceded by the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, a 2020 to 2021 program within the Office of Naval Intelligence used to standardize collection and reporting of sightings and UFOs. So this is an actual sub-branch of the United States military that existed between 2020 and 2021, specifically created to monitor and report and standardize reporting of UAPs and sightings. Okay? So whatever. Throw a date at the wall, it sticks. That's a 2-year window. It's not crazy to believe. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think there is valid concern for actual like unidentified objects in the sky because
Absolutely.
there are other militaries on the planet.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily an extraterrestrial thing.
Yep, and that's sort of one of the reasons that those things exist is because how many times are people calling in for whatever type of reason, whether it's schizophrenia or legitimate sighting of just a weather balloon or foreign adversaries technology. There's got to be a standardized way to report that.
I agree. Do you know and I guess we're getting into the UFO UAP territory. Do you know of the YouTube channel The Corridor Crew? Do you know of them?
I have seen they do like little mini stories, right?
They do that, but they also do like CG like breakdowns. They
Is
do
it related to Corridor Digital?
yeah.
Okay.
They break down like special effects in movies and whatnot, and
Okay.
But they also do like they debunk a lot of the UFO footage
Okay.
because they break it down how like that could happen, like what can occur with a camera moving at high speeds to make get that effect. How maybe someone has fabricated the footage entirely, and it's actually pretty interesting what they get into. And then
Sure.
once you watch those, you can kind of spot maybe something going on when you look at
Yep. Like there's certain I've seen, and again, Reddit was on fire with this, especially during 2020 and 2021 when everybody was falling into this trap. But I've seen like certain visual effects artists break down like the most commonly used flash transition that people use when making a faux abduction video. Like people are using the same shit, and there are actual things that you can look out for to
Yep.
see if this is a fake.
Yep.
However, it's the military got involved, and again, this doesn't necessarily mean that the military was looking at the Reddit post and they're like, "Oh shit, we have to fill this sort of biblical-esque prophecy." But, anyways, so that wasn't the verifiable part. I'm just saying that exists. Now, the official report. Let's see, the UAP task force report, because they were just between 2020 and 2021, and their stated goal was to essentially qualify reported UAPs into X amount of categories, and then there had to be some sort of public accountability, so they had to give congressional testimony that was live, and of course there was some that was done behind closed doors as well for classified information or whatever. But the task force had to come out publicly and release a report on their findings. This was released in July of 2021. UAP task force report. Okay, July 2021 alien news. That's how I found it last time. Okay. This is from CNN, so whatever. Depending on how you feel, any political spectrum, so be it. But I'm just going to read the article. In June 25th of 2021, the United States intelligence community on Friday released its long-awaited report on what it knows about a series of mysterious flying objects that have been seen moving through restricted military airspace over the last several decades. In short, the answer, according to Friday's report, is very little, but the intelligence community's release of the unclassified document marks one of the first times that the United States government has publicly acknowledged that there are strange aerial sightings by Navy pilots and others that are worthy of legitimate scrutiny. The report examined 144 reports of what the government terms unidentified aerial phenomenon, only one of which investigators were able to explain by the end of the study. Investigators found no evidence that the sightings represented either extraterrestrial life or a major technological advancement by a foreign adversary like Russia or China, but acknowledged that both are as equal as a possible explanation. So, that's the article. Whether this is confirming every single part of Throwaylien story, I of course know that is not the case. I just think that helped stir the frenzy, is that the specific public release, it was made the week before June or July, and then released to the public in July of 2021. And this was a prediction, or at least there was a prediction adjacent to this exact scenario made in 2014-ish by a random Redditor who's talking about being abducted by aliens.
Right. I think that if you're a government agency who's trying to secure funding, saying something like it could be China or Russia, could be aliens, we don't know, give us money, like to me it's like a big blanket, like, you know.
Let me just quickly, I'm happy to acknowledge that, because that is how a lot of shady military funding comes into play. I mean, that was the whole, we've gone into wars on false pretenses like that. Like, they might have weapons of mass destruction, therefore we gotta go.
Yeah.
Where I don't necessarily agree is why, for decades of what could be potentially seen as credible reporting on abductions or aerial phenomena or whatever, not only has the US like just ignored it, but has actively campaigned against it. Like, this is not happening. And now, for the first time on record, I don't think it looks good on a military to say we have no idea whether it's true or not, to say we don't know if this is China or if this is aliens. Unless, I mean, I guess there's some psyop to believe that, like, we're saying that so China thinks that we don't see what they're doing. But, like, that feels too obvious on its face.
Well, I think it's just it's the thing that a lot of governments do where it's like, or a lot of government agencies do where it's like, we're trying to solve a problem and we can't solve this big problem if we don't have the funds. And I also think that in general, I don't know, like the internet has made conspiracy theories way more of an accessible thing for a lot of people, and to tap into that would almost be a missed opportunity. You know what I
But
mean?
is it not also a problem to acknowledge as the wealthiest country on earth and therefore the largest military, I think 10 or 20 fold, to say we have all of this money and we still don't know what this stuff is? Like, then why should that sort of that doesn't help the justification of the existence of these programs or these departments. You know what I mean?
It does if they're asking for more money than they got last time. They're like, we're so close to figuring it out. Like, just give us, we just need more money. Don't take our funding away because we can do it. We can do it. We just need a little bit of a bump. Come on.
I think that is certainly possible.
I also think that it's less for like the messaging is less for like other governments to hear, or like our own government to hear. It's more for public opinion. I would think if you're getting more
Okay.
public, if you're trying to garner some kind of public opinion or trying to get the public on your side, you're going to use the fear tactic. And this is you're scaring two different groups here. The group that's afraid of China and Russia, and then there's a group that's afraid of aliens. And you're like, it could be
But
either one.
there's also a group of people who welcome our alien overlords. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so it's
that's true.
like there's it is a problem that information is being withheld to the public in most capacities of the military. Like, I understand governments need to act in secrecy, especially when it comes to like military operations, but there has never been more secrecy in a democratic government than there is right now, just because of pure corruption and greed and like incentives for people to just make money when they're in Congress. So like I totally hear the like we need money, fund us thing. But right now the optics are like, what aren't you fucking telling us? That's the problem. Like, not that you don't have money, it's that you know what information you have. You're just not telling us.
I mean, I think that's true for literally anything the government will say. I think that like, but I personally don't think it's an alien related thing that they're not telling us.
Do you not think that that could be among many things that they're not telling us?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I personally don't think that if aliens were, I think if aliens were actually visiting us, like actually, even if it was like interdimensional, or even if it was something along those lines, I don't know. I think either we would know something about it or we would know 0% about it. I
If
don't think that I don't know. I just don't think I don't think it's true.
if aliens were here, what do you think would be the most likely reason they are here?
Make Earth into a parking lot.
As in, it's just a little stopping point on the intergalactic highway?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that valuable about Earth
Our
to other
resources?
species.
Any of our resources?
There's nothing on Earth that you can't find in like an asteroid field, and if they can travel to Earth, they can travel to an asteroid field, and they don't have to deal with life.
But I think the idea of Earth being a habitable planet.
I mean, it's habitable to us. It might not be habitable to other species.
Well, look at Earth.
Yeah.
We're full of other species. It's not just humans on this planet.
Right, but also look at space. There's so many other planets that are wildly different to us that life could take hold. There's a possibility for there to be like a silicone-based life form as opposed to a carbon-based life form.
Now,
Like
I
that.
I certainly agree with that. I do. I agree that like our view of what life is maybe a little too narrow. Even though, like, I mean, if we find microbial life, that's gonna be life, right?
Yes.
That's gonna fit our definition of life. But the reason we have, or our best understanding of why we haven't found that yet, is because we are not close enough to habitable planets to physically see them. Like, like one of I believe Saturn or Jupiter's moons, Europa. Am I wrong?
Mhm.
Is like, or maybe Titan has
Okay.
the like ocean, like the habitable
Yeah.
ocean. It's really likely that we could probably find some type of life there because water is known to be habitable to sustain life. But like on a fiery,
Right.
rocky planet, it's not sustainable for our understanding of
Right.
life.
But let's say there is a watery planet that there may be life. We don't know what's in that water. Uh, that may or may not be like the water on Earth may not be habitable to those creatures. Um, like we may not be able to grab a creature from there and then throw it into the ocean and it'll be okay because of whatever chemical composition that's made up of the ocean. There's so much variability in the universe that it's possible that a species that grew up on an Earth on a planet like Earth has progressed to the point where they could do intergalactic
But I
travel.
think you're
But
also
what I'm saying is
missing.
the I don't think that there's anything on Earth that can't be found somewhere else with less resistance, unless they really wanted to like build a vacation house and they just Earth was great for them for some reason.
Well,
Um,
I also think you're skipping over like, and I'm just playing devil's advocate for the sake of having a podcast here. But uh, just the existence of evolution to begin with, like we had to start as microbial life in the ocean to
right.
then leave the ocean.
We did.
All life.
Not necessarily. I mean, on other planets, their life
We
could take
don't,
hold. We
but
don't
we
know,
don't
but
know that it exists.
theoretically
So I'm saying with
speaking,
our own, but right, I'm just saying if this is only operating on our current understanding of science and life,
right.
as we know it, which yeah, of course the hypotheticals exist to even consider talking about aliens in the first place. You have to like, you know, be able to play around with physics a little bit. But if it exists, where is it? Right?
But
Like, why
either
haven't we seen it?
either we're the most advanced species in the universe, or space is such a fuck of a thing to actually get through that no one's traveling.
All right, y'all. If you're watching the video version, see that skull? See this? This is not a punk house, it's a punk home banner. All of these things are available at catandcrew.com. That's right. They're the first sponsors. Catandcrew.com. Enter the promo code MONDAY. It's Monday, MUNDAY, to receive 10% off of your final purchase. You can get those koozies, you can get banners, you can get earrings, you can get coasters, you can get skull planters. I think it's really cool that they decided to give A.D.H.Deep-Dive listeners an exclusive deal. Because, you know, it's cool that we're building a little audience here and that you guys get to have some sort of special perks that nobody else gets. So if you aren't familiar with it yet, go to catandcrew.com, enter the promo code MONDAY, MUNDAY at checkout, get 10% off your final order. Okay, back to the show. We probably just cut to an ad there because we had some technical difficulties. But only because I believe I think ultimately we do. Well, I don't know that we necessarily agree on aliens, but what is there to really agree about if it's all conjecture anyway, you know? But I did take some viewer/listener responses. I figure we could dish on those a little bit because it feels like some of those opinions line up with ours still. Okay, so I said on Instagram, aliens? Question mark. And then let's see, where the hell are these responses? Okay. We have one person who just says definitively, they definitely live among us. How do you feel that?
Wow.
Because there are some people who believe that not only like are they here and taking us, but that like there is some type of alien cabal
Like Men
that
in
is
Black
actually
style.
running things. Yeah, essentially.
I cannot say I agree with that.
Have you
And
ever found yourself willing to believe
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, I was all into all this.
What do you say about kid? Like, when do you give up on this? Because I'm 30 and I feel like you're making fun of me.
I'm not. That's not my intention. I look. I would never pass up on an opportunity to make fun of you, but that's not my intention.
I get that.
Um, no, the reason I say when I'm a kid is because when I was a kid, I was heavily into it. I really loved the idea of there being aliens around and visiting us, and I was definitely afraid of being abducted as a kid.
Afraid?
Afraid of it. I was afraid of being abducted. Yeah,
I wanted it so bad.
yeah. I was afraid. I was
I don't
afraid.
think I don't think I didn't want it until I saw it's that very famous one where the dude it's a movie, but it was also based off a quote unquote real story. I think the dude was also on like the Joe Rogan Experience talking about it or whatever. Shit, I'm not gonna remember the name of it, but it's a movie that was made out of this dude's abduction, and basically they the aliens in this thing like shrink wrap him with a like coating layer, and
Yeah.
then that like plugs his nose. And I don't know. That made me not
Right.
want it.
Well, I mean, I was a big fan of the X-Files growing up, and that it was
Sure.
not a fun time to be abducted by aliens on that show. So,
Yeah, that's true.
and then we would also always watch those like shows about they interviewed people who had experiences and whatnot. So it just seemed like a not fun experience to me to be abducted by aliens. I would have loved to see a UFO or like talk to aliens or something like that. That would have been cool, but being taken out of my bed in my sleep would have been not good. But I don't know.
True.
Over the years, I think that I don't know exactly when it happened, but it was a very gradual shift to damn, it's probably not a thing that actually does exist. Because I don't know the what I learned about. I went through a phase where I was like, if they're here and they're among us, they're not from another planet; they're from another dimension. I think that was like a thing that I believed for quite a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Because in space
Because you watch
travel,
Doctor Who.
well, that, but also I just was learning a lot about space in general. Like I went through like a big like space and astrophysics kick, like just learning about that stuff and how like it is a crazy undertaking just to get to other planets in our solar system, let alone to travel between solar systems. Um, so
But also, sorry to interrupt. Haven't we also only had a plane for like 100 years?
well, yeah, but the physics behind actually propelling something for that long, and then also like this is what I was getting to with generational ships. Uh, you would need
Well, hold on. Sorry, propelling something that long is irrelevant because once you have forward momentum, you continue in space.
right, but at what speed?
If you can reach light speed at that point,
It's the
that's
reaching of the speed that's the issue. But it's also like there's what direction, like how are you, where are you going, what direction are you going in, how long is it going to take you to get there, are you even going to
but
be
again, aren't you
alive?
looking at it through human
I mean I
lenses?
definitely am, but I still don't really believe that they are just among us like hanging out. I think
What about the do you know about the tardigrade?
is that the little microbial thing that can exist in space.
The little tiny bear.
Yeah,
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 the
yeah,
little space
I've heard
bear.
about it.
I think knowing that those can exist in the vacuum of space proves that things can exist in the vacuum of space, right?
Yeah, I just don't think that they're like humanoid, like your neighbor is one.
Sure.
That
Okay.
I don't think there's a cabal. I don't think that they're. I think if there were a cabal and they were trying to control us, they would be way more effective, and they would either they'd be more effective in controlling us, or if they are controlling us, they don't give a shit about our well-being. They're just like, well, this is what what was I forgot who said this, but like if aliens are here, we just are here to make them plastic.
Huh.
Yeah,
It's brutal. It's a brutal way to think about it. Well, there's also I feel like I told this many years ago on
yeah, you
some
froze again.
I froze.
You froze a bit, yeah. Every time you freeze,
Oh,
the bars next to your name go red. I don't know if that's any indication.
I'm guessing that probably means it's my connection then. Fascinating.
I don't know if that's actually true, but that's just what happens.
That's all right. It's all right. It'll be sorted out. Audio wise, this has been totally fine.
Okay, great.
Um, it's so okay. If you're real into the alien scene right now, you're not particularly thrilled with Neil deGrasse Tyson because he's a bit of an extreme naysayer on the topic.
Yeah.
Not so much that it's like, oh, well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. He's like, you're an idiot if you believe that they're here. Like,
I guess
and more,
I skew more towards his way of thinking. Not that everyone's an idiot, but like when I listen to him, he doesn't upset me. I'm just like, oh, that's probably
it certainly used to feel that way, and because he's just so dug in on the topic of aliens, it makes me upset. But whatever, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Whatever, I get it. But many years ago, he gave a talk where he was talking about how closely related we are to modern day chimps, like in just structural DNA. And then I believe it's like 0.2 or maybe 2%, whatever, but the number 2 is thrown out. That's all the difference that exists between us and modern day chimps. And within that 2% is like quantum mechanics, space travel,
yeah.
modern society. Thinking of something that is, we can take the smartest chimp among us and it can maybe do like toddler level things like stack blocks and whatever. But also, on the other side of it, it could rip our face off.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, if we took the smartest among us at the time, I believe he used Stephen Hawking as the example, and rolled him up to these aliens, they could be like, oh, cute, he's doing quantum mechanics. Little Timmy did that and he put it up on the fridge.
Yeah.
However, there is still probably some just genetic advantage that we would have regardless. Like, yes, we are more intelligent than the chimp, but that chimp, if we were put in a cage with it, it doesn't matter how smart we are. In terms of evolution and preserving its own species, it will survive.
Well, so I guess this is my argument. Even let's say aliens are here and they've come here for whatever reason. I don't think they're living among us because they like our planet or they're doing anything. I think they're just like, if anything, what they're trying to do is keep us from reaching that level because we're fucking psychos.
Yes. That's a huge conspiracy, and a big conspiracy and tied with that is think of what is the most effective way to rule a people? Just convince them that everything's cool, man.
No, I don't even think it's everything's cool. I think it convinced them that their own enemy is themselves and they attack each other. That's how you keep them down. If your goal is to keep them from attaining the technology to travel through space, you're just trying to keep them on their planet. I think that,
but we already have nukes.
That's what I'm saying. Like we have nukes, so that's the failsafe. So then they're sowing distrust between our own species. Humans generally are just like ready to fucking nuke each other at any moment. And that if that's their goal, to keep us on the planet at any means necessary, having a thing where they're just, if they get to a point, they'll just explode themselves and it's fine.
So
it's like a self-destruct. They programmed this self-destruct.
You are making one person in particular very happy by saying that. And you know who that is? That is Throawaylien.
Yeah, this is what they believe. Just for the record, I don't think that this is the case. I think we're just.
But you did help build an argument for how that could be plausible.
I guess so. But I don't think that's the case. I think humans are just.
That's okay.
I think humans are just being humans, and we're just kind of alone. And I think there is something that you said earlier that I tend to agree with. That if there was, let's say the moon, for whatever reason, was habitable to humans, I think the trajectory of our life on this planet would have been a lot different, because we would have looked at the moon, seen that there was life up there, and then we would have been like, we want to go.
Gone there.
We want to go there
Yep.
immediately. And it
Yep.
would have been we would have been way more spacefaring, and I think that would have propelled us even more. The fact that we are alone in our solar system is, you know how like solitary confinement is,
Drives people
yeah,
insane.
I think as a species,
Yep.
we're just probably insane. And
That's heartbreaking. Truly. I
I
mean,
think, I think that's,
I'm not saying it's heartbreaking that you believe that, but that as a philosophy is
I
heartbreaking.
think that's, I mean, I think that's the case. I think that's why humans are the way they are, is because we looked around on the other planets and we were like, it's all dead there. Like that one's dead. There's no life there, no life there, no life there. Um, and we're just alone.
But also, doesn't that like kind of surrender our own agency because there's still time? Now, one thing I hear with Neil deGrasse Tyson that I have also heard other scientists and speakers say is like, if we have the technology to terraform Mars, we have the technology to fix Earth.
Yeah.
Like we gotta do it here.
Yeah.
Um, but if that is not the case, if we do not have enough time to fix Earth, I believe that a select few amount of humans are going to be able to get out of here. Which I think inevitably means that space travel and intergalactic life or inhabitants is possible. We do become a spacefaring civilization.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible for that to happen. I just don't know. I don't know how soon it's going to happen, or I don't know if, I mean, you know
but given enough time,
yeah, of course, given enough time. But do you know the concept of the great filter? I'm assuming you know this.
absolutely, yep.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
we don't know where that fucking filter is, so
Right.
it could be like right in front of us. You know what I mean?
Well, again, I guess just for providing context, at least my understanding of the great filter is if there's life out there, the reason that we haven't seen it is either because it's not there or because it has all been brutally wiped out. And
Well,
there is a filter that at a certain point you get to where you either become an intergalactic spacefaring civilization or you are then wiped out. And so far, we only know one.
well,
and it's you get wiped out.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. Well, the great filter is like either the filters ahead of us or the filters behind us, which means
Right.
that if the filters, which both scenarios are not great, I guess,
They're problematic.
but one is better than the other. If the great filter is in front of us, that means that it's pretty much a filter that any intelligent species gets to, that it'll
prevents it from visiting.
it'll wipe out. So like either the filter is ahead of us, where like we haven't gotten to the point where we've wiped ourselves out, or the filter is behind us, in which case we are the smartest. We are the first ones to get here, or amongst the first ones to get here. So we are
Right.
amongst the smartest species in the universe, but that means that not enough time has passed for intergalactic travel to actually occur.
Right.
Um,
Each again, yeah, equally horrifying. Is like if we're the first,
Yeah.
which sort of fits into what humans have just been sort of doing since the dawn of whatever this particular iteration of Homo sapiens is, just explore, expand, explore.
Yeah.
Well, explore, expand, conquer, explore, expand, conquer, explore, expand, conquer. So like,
but also, I mean,
if there are any other species out there, that's scary to think that they could be doing the same thing, but also they could hit that brick wall.
well, are you
I don't know.
at all a Star Trek fan?
I'm not a Star Trek hater, but I just never got into it.
I would just recommend watching The Next Generation. I think it's for anyone who loves aliens and loves the concept. Star Trek is great because it is what it would look like if everything went well. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It's very much like, I don't. It feels more like a political show for the most part. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I've only seen The Next Generation, so I can only speak for the Picard years. But um, it's a fun idea because they encounter alien civilizations and what the hardships are versus um,
Well, all of this as well is also reminding me, and I don't think that we actually have the time to explore the AI side of all of this as well. But like the possibility of life just being data sort of takes me back to the Matrix animated series, like
Yeah, the Matrix.
the idea of the Animatrix, the idea of there being not really a physical fleshy war between existence, but like the robot uprising and then technological life. That's all fascinating. Other layers of this.
Yeah, I think that if we made a robot race, they would be way better at space travel than we.
Yeah, and that's almost certainly where we're headed.
Yeah.
So it's like what this given enough time thing, like it might not be humans that go out there. It might be the next version of humanity.
I also just want to put this out there. If it is the case that aliens are trying to keep us on this planet, I can't say blame them. Look at the fourth. Like we have not fixed our planet yet. Maybe they're just like, you got to get your shit together before we let you do this. And I kind of agree. Why would you want a species like us to inhabit your planet if all we're going to do is pump toxins into the
Which is
air?
interesting because that really starts getting into the gods philosophies too. Is like there are these omnipotent beings that are kind of controlling and granting permissions.
I think if they were controlling, things may be a lot better. Unless they literally just need us for plastic, in which case,
well, again, maybe not controlling, maybe containing.
Yeah, I think they're I think they're probably containing. Yeah.
Let's get through a few more responses and then I'll get you out of here.
Solid.
This one pretty universally felt. Statistically and scientifically speaking, the universe is so big that there's no way that there's not.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I felt that you would feel
100%.
100%. Let's see what else we got. Someone said Henry Kissinger was an alien, but now he's dead.
Maybe his the warranty on his human suit expired, so we had to leave.
Hey, his earthly body was no longer relevant, and so a lot of them kind of fit in the same. Either they do, they don't. Statistically, they're likely to, but we don't see them. Okay, so any other thoughts on aliens you'd like to throw out there, or things that you didn't feel as though you were able to get out?
I think culturally, I love the concept of aliens. I've always, I just in general, like the little green alien dude has always been a big a big place in my heart. I love Doctor Who. I love Next Gen. Aliens in general as a concept is fun for me. So I love talking about it. I've been more skeptical over the years, and yeah, I don't know. It's just fun to talk about. Yeah.
So you're a hater and you don't believe, and you're a cuck to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right. That's all that mainstream science bullshit that's got us here in the first place.
Fucking A, man. Fucking science doesn't know shit.
Hey, okay. Is there anything in particular that you got going on that you want to plug or recommend before I get you out here? Any recommendations, referrals?
No, not at the moment. Just chugging along on some
even projects. A piece of media or content or anything that you've recently seen that you want to recommend that people watch or do?
I've been watching this doc on YouTube about I forgot his name. Let me look it up real quick. It's Sigmund Freud's cousin who came over here and pretty much created like consumerism as we know it. It's called the Century.
It's a bit of a Freudian slip.
The Century of the Self it's called. I've only seen the first two or the first part of this. What's his name?
The Century of the Self.
Yeah. It's kind of about just how like this guy pretty much took Freud's ideas and gave them to corporations to like manipulate them into being good little consumers, and it's actually really interesting.
Well, are you aware of Citizens United?
I am not. His name is Edward Bernays. That's the guy. That's the Sigmund Freud's nephew. What?
M-
Who did you say?
Citizens United.
Oh,
My
no.
understanding is that it's a ruling that essentially means that corporations are humans and can have, vote and own property and, that type of thing.
Right.
So that kind of lines up with that.
Yeah. Not great.
So giving corporations humanoid
Yeah,
powers.
yeah. But it's interesting because it follows his life and how he pretty much got his claws into everything during like the 20s and World War II. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Something of the
Century of
Self.
the Self.
Century of
Like
the
I said, I've only
Self.
seen the first part of it. And it's on YouTube. Highly recommend it. I mean, it's just interesting to me. How like
Cool.
there's just like mass manipulations and whatnot, and I think it's kind of maybe not directly related to aliens specifically, but it's kind of along the same lines that we were talking about
It is to the
misinformation.
cabal.
Yeah, well, if the alien cabal exists, uh, maybe Edward Bernays was one of them.
Are you part of the alien cabal? Was that a cover up, dude? Take your
You know
face
what?
off,
Just
bro.
expect a visit tonight. Is all I'm saying. All right.
Oh, yeah, Gina, I've been waiting for you, baby.
Come over and clap these
All
cheeks. We're
right.
talking a big game.
All right. So Century of the Self. You probably already saw the ad for it, but go to Cat and Crew, KATANDCREW.com. Enter the promo code Monday, MUNDAY. Get 10% off your first purchase. Also go to MidwestSkiesRock.com. Got a bunch of new merch that we've been trying to push out, including new beanies for the winter season. So thank you, George. Hang out on the line as we discuss your thoughts on the post-show analysis. Cool? All right. To the listeners, I love you. Thank you. George, get fucked.
To you.
And I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.